Warning, this video spoils the entirety of the chapters covered here within. If you wish to experience them without being spoiled, turn back now. Oh boy! I know, right? This isn't a This Week in Shonen. What the fuck is happening? So, This Week in Shonen is kind of... It was an experiment. And it still might happen. But with both Chainsaw and One Piece, these two chapters that I have to review flow so well together that I don't think This Week in Shonen is needed. This Week in Shonen is supposed to be almost like a catch-up. Like, here's what you missed this week. But these chapters feel like a much more, this is what you have missed in One Piece. Because these chapters flow together so well. So, in One Piece chapter 1068, which is what we're going to be starting with, we start off obviously with the cover story. Cover story has been this all-encompassing story about Germa, Caesar Clown, and all that. And after Judge and Caesar have beaten each other to a bloody pulp, not bloody pulp, but they have the very One Piece big bruises on their faces, they both think of Vegapunk. That's it. That's literally all we have. While, of course, the siblings are just resting in the background. But we can't see them, but you can assume. But Vegapunk's 4 and I believe 2 refuse to allow CP0 to dock and say, basically, we can't let you on board. We can't let you on the island. Good job for all your hard work, thank you, but we just can't let you on the island. And Kaku, I believe his name is, tries to be like, yo, can we at least get some tea? And Vegapunk says no. And that's when Lucci throws out a real big playing card. Apparently, CP5 and CP7 and CP8 have all sent ships to Egghead, but none of them have came back. And obviously the reason is all these Cypher Pole missions were to kill Vegapunk, and none of them could. I'm going to guess all of the big boy Sea Kings kind of ate them. And we see CP0 put into a very similar situation. The Sea Kings are very, very happy to rip their ship apart. But Lucci says that they are going to infiltrate with S-Bear's ability, the Seraphim of Kuma. And then we cut to the Grand Line, and we see the real Kuma once again escaping from the repairs and using his devil fruit to poof himself out of existence. The question is, how close is Egghead to the island that the revolutionaries are on? How long will it take Kuma to travel there? Does Kuma get a boost of his ability if he just keeps repelling himself from the air? Does he speed up? Does he get there faster? That's just questions. Will Kuma show up on Egghead while the Straw Hats are there? And then we cut to Luffy's group, and Luffy asks why Vegapunk wants to leave. And Vegapunk says, long story short, I want to make a world where free energy is available to all. And this, apparently, through this quest of free energy, led him to investigating the ancient fuel that fueled the giant robot. And to quote him, my curious nature as a scientist compelled me to take a peek. Imagine how much we'd learn if that forbidden thread of history was unraveled. After a dear friend of mine died, I found myself diving even deeper into that abyss to further his will. Which I'm going to assume we could assume it to be Clover, but I don't really know. It could just very well be an ambiguous friend. It could have been Roger, because if Vegapunk knew Dragon, he knew Kuma, he knew all these big players, who's to say he didn't know Roger? And he's the only other big player that I can assume Vegapunk would have run into, and that him running into would have some kind of consequence for. And then Vegapunk drops the bombshell. Because he's been investigating, Cypher Pole has been sent to kill him, and they want to erase him just like O'Hara. And then an explosion sounds off, which he rightfully assumes is CP0. And these guys are, to quote Vegapunk, the direct subordinates of the Celestial Dragons. And Luffy asks, weren't they called CP9? And Jinbei says, CP0 is a division that stands above the rest. They say their members have historically been harbingers of catastrophe. And then we see Kaku is just kind of goofy, saying the city looks like it's straight out of the future. And a few residents of Egghead say, these guys don't look like Cypher Pole agents. They usually wear black. Why didn't they come through the normal port? And did you guys hear about the 2 weaponized sea beasts that were taken down off by the coast? And that's when the logic snapped that these guys are intruders. They are not welcome guests. And that's when things just kind of click. And a tiny little funny thing. In the panel, I can show this. In this panel where the Shaka and all of them find out CP0 on the island, I like this a little bit. Let me get my picture tool out. If it'll load, of course. I like this little section over here with Sanji protecting Robin. I just really like that. It's kind of cute. That's it. That's all I needed to say. But from then we see that the Sea Beasts have indeed ripped apart CP0's ship. And of course they rightfully clicked the fact that they got on the island using the Seraphim, and they sacrificed their ship, which shows their resolve to fight. And that's when Shaka initiates or puts out the order: evacuate the researchers and workers. Atlas, make your way back to the lab. Prepare the Seraphim. We're deploying S-Snake, S-Hawk, and S-Shark. Entrust their command to Sentomaru. Sentomaru, of course, being from not Amazon Lily, Marineford and Sabati is where we really got to meet him. I think it's a him. And that's when Jinbei clicks and he makes a comment that Vegapunk disappearing counts as a casualty. Like, it counts as a catastrophe, which CP0 is known for. So him either leaving Egghead with the Straw Hats or him getting killed, either way, CP0 is bringing around this catastrophe. And Luffy says that they will be going on a field trip, and only because he got a funny head. And they want to go up to the lab stratium above the clouds, and he wants them to bring Bonnie. And then he disappears, which of course we should be used to. And then there is a big boy robot monster that appears in front of CP0, which Kaku calls a space monster. The guns aren't working, and Kaku uses Tempest Kick on the beast, and it's a hologram, obviously. And Stussy is back there basically shooting off random facts, like it's a hologram, all this, all that. And Kaku goes, and he's saying, I'm going to pop up and take a look-see above the clouds. If Vegapunk's around, he'll be up there. And, of course, Stussy busts out the fact that there are, it's a frontier dome around the lab, which Lucci also noticed. And Lucci straight up tells Stussy, like, if you know all this intel beforehand, maybe you should, like, tell us this. Kaku gets all comically burnt up and stuff. And that's when we see, of course, Atlas running up to CP0. And Atlas goes for a charged attack, being Ultra Mighty Punch. And Lucci uses 6 King Pistol. And, for lack of a better term, he blows up Atlas's face. Like, half of it's gone. And at the end of the chapter, we see Luffy sees what happened to Atlas, and he sees Lucci, and Lucci sees Luffy. So all in all, really good chapter, but like I said, these 2 chapters flow so well together that it's hard not to mention, or it would have been hard to do one at a time. So, we're going to go straight into the next chapter. The last chapter, though, this 1068, I would give a nice, solid 8 out of 10. It's good. It's an amazing setup for the next chapter, of which we will be reviewing now. One Piece, chapter 1069. We owe all there is to desire, which gets played out in the chapter. A very unrelated cover page, though, it's still German 66's cold-blooded voyage, but a philanthropic endeavor of Lone Shark King Lou Feld, MADS, the Laboratory of Peace. So I guess we're going to be going with Judge and Caesar to see what this is about. That's my guess. But going into the chapter, Egghead residents are seeing that Atlas got. And Luffy sees, Jesus, these names are going to get real confusing real quick. Luffy and Lucci are too similar. Luffy sees Lucci and asks what he's doing there, and Lucci counters back with, you realize this is a government island. So Luffy obviously is like, yeah, I guess we're the ones who are out of place. And Kaku points out that, dearie me, the Straw Hat Pirates, and it looks like they're with Jewelry Bonnie. Well, that's that, Lucci. We can't lay a hand on them. Straw Hat's officially an emperor now. We can't engage him without orders. And Stussy replies and backs that up with, that's right, emperors have considerable backing behind them. Even a small tiff can flare into an all-out war. And while they're saying this, Luffy hands Bonnie off to Jinbei, and Luffy runs up to Atlas and sees what happened. And it's not pretty. He is quoted as saying, this is awful. And Lucci says, I'm aware of the consequences. That said, and that's when, this is a very like One Piece thing where it goes A, B, A, B. Luffy orders Chopper to do what he can for Atlas, but obviously this is more Chopper's, or this is obviously more Frankie's foray, which Chopper says. And Lucci says, keep out of this, it's government business. Which, he's not picking a fight with Luffy. He's more so just saying, hey, this has nothing to do with you, fuck off. We're here to kill Vegapunk. But Luffy, of course, replies with, that kid gave us food. And then we get to see Akainu. And Akainu says, things keep getting messier. Is Vegapunk onto CP0? And the reporter says yes. And Akainu says, you'd think those brats would consult me before declaring war. If Vegapunk has cut a deal with Straw Hats, that's a major blow to our military superiority. Where's Kizaru? And he's apparently already left for Egghead. Tell Lucci to wait for the Marines to arrive. He's not to engage Straw Hat under any circumstances. And you have to think, with the bounty poster for Luffy being Nika, and with Akainu now being the head of the Marines, he is reporting directly to the elders. The elders know about Luffy's fruit. So that's making me think that the elders have made it, like, obviously, as we found out from Kaku and Stussy, the Marines are not to fight emperors under any circumstance, unless they are given direct permission. But I'm going to guess that they were told to even give a wider berth to Luffy because of his fruit. And we come back to Egghead, where Luffy and Lucci are already fighting. Lucci's in his new big boy form, which is his awakened form. So he has the cat fruit model leopard awakened form. And him and Luffy are just blowing shit up on Egghead. And Luffy is already in gear 5th, which makes me think that this might just be his new default. Like, he might not have to go through gear 2nd, gear 3rd, gear 4th, gear 5th. He might also not have to literally die to activate gear 5th now. It might just be a on-command thing. But, Vegapunk 01 says, most awakened Zoan powers tend to overwhelm their users in like, the mental way. But Lucci seems completely in control. And Lucci is quoted as saying, you're not the only one who's gotten stronger, Straw Hat. And this is, then we get to see Kaku telling him to stand down. And then Vegapunk asks if the White Warrior is on the screen. And that is when we get the biggest tell to the Straw Hats. The Straw Hats are told by Vegapunk, because Nami just assumed that his new form was just part of his Gum Gum powers. And Vegapunk is quoted as saying, that's funny. You see, there's no mention of the Gum Gum fruit in the Old Devil Encyclopedia. How sublime. He looks just like that god described in the ancient texts. I speak of the warrior of liberation, whose antics could bring a smile upon anyone's lips, also known as the sun god Nika. And then we have Nami saying, Nika, I've never heard that name. And then Vegapunk responds with, naturally, it's been wiped from history. And yet, as long as people's desires persist, such a thing will never cease to be. We owe all there is to desire. For instance, the devil fruits. Devil fruits are a manifestation of the desire to see how different paths of evolution can play out. Gee, I wish I could do X. Or if only we could do Y. Devil fruits actualize such wishes. Each one showcases a different possibility for the future of humanity. These deviations are, of course, unnatural, so it makes sense that they attract the ire of Mother Nature. The sea itself. One who has eaten a fruit lives in total alien existence, born out of limitless permutations of imagination. That's my theory, at least. Whether you believe there's a God out there or not, one thing's for sure. We live in a wondrous world. And with Vegapunk's monologue, we saw Luffy and Lucci fighting, but we got to see Lucci straight up clowning on Lucci, which I will again show with this panel, with him just dodging the attacks like nothing. And then the eye catch panel. Luffy and Lucci both can use Conqueror's Haki, both can use Armament Haki, and Lucci has Conqueror's Haki. That is the biggest thing to take out of this. And obviously, Luffy clashed with Kaido in Conqueror's Haki. I don't think Lucci's coming anywhere near that, which is shown by Luffy just grinning, and then they explode away from each other in like a reaction to each other's punches. And Sanji, Frankie, Usopp, Nami, Robin, they are all seeing this. And this is the first time that they have gotten to see this, like, Nika form fighting. This is the first time they've gotten to see it just wrecking. Because obviously a few of them caught a glimpse of it back on Onigashima, but this is a true showing of the power. And in the next page, we see Sentomaru with all the Seraphims, ordering them around, and then we get a power scale of who can order the Seraphims around. And apparently, the bottom tier is anyone with an authority chip, followed by Sentomaru, followed by Vegapunk, and then the 5 elders themselves. But they cannot take orders through transponders, meaning they can't get the elders to do anything. So, Lucci, in a big brain move, instead of continuing to fight Luffy, which Luffy is able to use Gum Gum Mole Pistol, which has him punching into the ground and then it snaking under the ground and hitting Lucci or acting like a mole would. And then Sentomaru gives out orders. S-Snake, lead the Straw Hats to the vacuum rocket and see them safely through the Frontier Dome. S-Hawk, S-Shark, suppress SP0 or CP0. And that's when we get Jinbei actually seeing what the Seraphim are, and he says they're clones. They are basically clones of us. And Luffy obviously recognizes Battle Axe as Sentomaru, and Sentomaru asks, "Are you really gonna help Grandpa Punk escape?" And Luffy responds, "Yeah, he asked me. Don't sweat it." And Sentomaru has the response of, "I'm not sure I can trust you. You're an emperor after all. And what's with your appearance?" But Lucci shows up and uses Canned Gun, which seems to be an armament version of the 5-finger strike. And maybe not kill, but he straight fucked up Sentomaru. And Luffy screams out Battle Axe, and Lucci has the very big brain realization of all we had to do was cut the head off the snake. Now the Seraphim obey us. And holy shit, this chapter, it was just straight a fight chapter. I'm pretty sure this was the first time we got to see Nika Luffy without, like, an actual overshirt. Because on Onigashima, Luffy had the he had his obvious denim top. And with this, he doesn't. Or not denim top, he had his red shirt. But with this, in the panels we see of him, it looks like he's just straight up shirtless. So I wonder if the Nika fruit affects Luffy's body and his clothing and stuff, so his clothes just disappear. Obviously, we know that Luffy's clothes were all white back on Onigashima, which we can assume to be a consistent rule for the Nika fruit. But this chapter was really cool. It was really nice seeing it's just a fight. It's nice to just have a fight chapter with not a whole lot going on other than that. Obviously, we have the Seraphims ordering around. We have Sentomaru. But the fight takes the front page of this chapter. And we also got some exposition about what the Devil Fruits are from Vegapunk. They are the manifestation of desires by humanity. And that is so cool to actually have an explanation now. But that's all that I can say about these chapters. I'm really excited to see how the next few chapters play out, because that leaves the Seraphim at CP0's command, which will be really cool to see how that plays out. Because obviously they're going to set them after the Straw Hats and after Vegapunk, but the real question is, in this chapter, Luffy and Lucci, maybe not evenly matched, but Luffy didn't just straight up fold Lucci. He gave him a hit, but he was able to kind of shrug it off. So I wonder if Lucci, through his awakened beast form, because we saw Kaido had his awakened fruit as well, or his hybrid form, I should say. And that's kind of what this is, because obviously what we saw on Enies Lobby was, from what I remember, it was Lucci's Zoan form. So this acts almost like his awakened hybrid form. So I wonder if this is going to be similar to Kaido, where Luffy can beat him all he wants, but it's going to take a real KO, like a non-physical hit to KO him. And I'm talking like seawater getting involved in this, maybe Kuma showing up and shooting Lucci away. It's going to be interesting. But until next time, I hope everyone enjoyed watching this. I enjoy doing the One Piece videos just straight up. Because another complaint I had about This Week in Shonen is I didn't like how the border turned out, which I'm probably just going to redo. But it's going to be really interesting to see how these next few chapters play out. I feel like Kuma's, if I had to place a guess of what's going to happen, Kuma is going to show up and break up the fight. Maybe not send Lucci away and Luffy away. Maybe just show up for Bonnie or Vegapunk. But just Kuma being there will send CP0 into this, okay, what the fuck is happening? But I'm probably wrong. Like, let's be real. But yeah, until next time, stay safe, have fun, and read more manga. Okay, guys. Bye.